All right. Welcome to Unethical Hoops with Bulletproof and Drago. We're talking today about the NBA playoffs. Like we did in the previous episodes, we have three game sevens to talk about. We have the Nuggets elimination, we have the Lakers advancing. We have a lot to talk about today. So, yeah, let's start. So, what's up, Drago? What do you want to talk about first?
So I just want to talk about how interesting I think the NBA playoffs are right now. I feel like we have two almost leagues in and of themselves. I feel like we have the West, where it's a given that the finals and both the Western Conference Finals and probably also the NBA Finals will be the Spurs versus the Thunder. And then we have the East, where everyone can beat everyone, and there's seven teams I think could win the East. So I think that's very diametrically opposed. Like the Knicks and everyone who is in a game seven right now could win the East. Like if they get a little lucky. Like even Toronto could get. Even the only team I couldn't see them beat is like Boston. If they play Philly, they can beat Philly. I'm not saying that I would pick them, but they could. Um, the Magic could beat everyone. Like everyone can beat everyone, and it's about matchups. But if you're going to start with a particular series, I do think it would be pertaining to not that it's unethical hoops, but it's certainly old school hoops. The Detroit Pistons and Orlando Magic. The Magic just had the worst half of offensive basketball in NBA playoffs history. It's the lowest point anyone have ever scored in a half in NBA playoff history. It's also the second lowest in any NBA game post shot clock ever. The number one being a 2006 game with the New Orleans Hornets at the time, scoring 16 points and a half. So this to me is probably the most historic thing we have seen in like this whole NBA season because it's actually deranged how miserable Orlando's offense was last night. Like it's absolutely crazy that it's possible to in 2026 to score 19 points in a half. If I had some more stats on it actually. The first Magic bucket, the first Magic field goal in the fourth quarter was with 2 minutes left of the whole game. It was 10 minutes into the quarter. That was their first field goal. Before that, they had scored like four points on what's it called free throws. That was like an open Bankero dunk because Pistons was just trying to prevent freeze.
Mm.
They were up 20 points. Like the Magic were up 20 points in this 90s like series where no one can score over 80 or something. Like blowing a 20-point lead is like normal teams blowing like a 35-point lead. It's absolutely deranged. They scored 4 field goals in the whole second half. They fouled Cade Cunningham 16 times. Like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen in NBA basketball. What's your thought on the most insane game ever?
Um, I just want to say that Azar Thompson is one of the most like aesthetically pleasing defenders I've ever seen. Probably since '09 LeBron, I haven't been this entertained by a defender. Um, but the game itself obviously wasn't entertaining. I will say this though. The league is letting players play defense more in the playoffs, and I like that.
Mhm.
And it's proving my point that earlier eras were not just bad basketball players, they were just players who were limited by the rules. You can see today, even like these ultra skilled players, when defense is played aggressively, it's very hard to score. Like these are two defensive teams. We had two teams last night scoring less than 80, right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, we had a team
That
score
is-
12 points in a quarter, and that was the third worst quarter. They're two quarters worse, and both were by the Magic.
yeah, but I'm talking like the other game as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
Cleveland Toronto is also just a complete rock fight.
yeah, so we're seeing these games because I remember in Open Gym a few years ago, Mars and Dub, they were talking about how it's impossible to score like 60 or 70 points in a game today, and how the Pistons, like all four Pistons, weren't that impressive because they were just facing back competition, or even like when teams in the 90s scored like 60 points in a playoff game, they were saying, oh, like a playoff team in today's game would never score that. I mean, we're seeing it right now, and I know it's still not as often, but we've seen like twice, two games in the same night of teams like failing to reach 80, and that is crazy. I mean, to score this low. I mean, the Rockets and the Magic scored less than 80 in one night. To me, that's the unlikelihood of one of them is crazy, but two of them in the same night is even crazier. And I like it. I like the fact that NBA teams are like playing that kind of defense, are allowed to play because we know they can play it. It's just that in the regular season it's very difficult, but we know that they can play defense. Now they are letting them play defense, which is also another thing to go at the narrative that players today don't play defense. They want to play defense, but the league just only allows them to play defense in the playoffs. And yeah, that's like initial point. And even like the other series, we've seen the Nuggets, and I posted a short about this. The Nuggets failed to reach 100 points three times out of six games in this series. In the 82 game regular season, they failed only twice. So they failed to reach the 100-point mark more times in the six-game series than in the 82 game regular season. That's another crazy stat of the day. Like, we have so many crazy stats today.
The playoffs is a different game. I want to talk more about that, like 90s to like the 90s comparison to now, because I thought about this. Like the Pistons in particular is built like a 90s team. Like they have like one and a half shooters on the court with Cade. Like they had Duncan Robinson, and then Tobias Harris is kind of okay, also a decent shooter, but not like a shooter. But that's like how 90s teams were built. It's like you had your one perimeter star, then you had that one like designated sharp shooter whose job was to like hit threes, like shoot coming off like pin downs and so on. Then you would have like 2 to 3 rugged defenders on the court, and maybe someone else with a little bit of offensive skill. Here it's Tobias Harris. And you would have like your one big man that was very rugged, except he's been terrible in Jalen Duran. And then they played with Isaiah Stewart a little bit. And then they would have this perimeter defensive player in like Asad Thompson. They're built like that. I want to. And the Magic have the exact same problems, and they have also no shooters except for like Desmond Bain. So there's no shooting on the floor, but we're not in the 90s anymore where legal defense exists. So we're back in the 2000s where no one can shoot in the series and there's no illegal defense to save you, which is very fun to watch. This is very, very fun to watch. I
And
think if this was the whole NBA for a whole season, it would not be as fun to watch. But seeing it for like one series, it is very fun to watch. But we also have other teams like the Rockets is also sucks on offense. The
yeah,
Raptors and the Cavs are like the Cavs should be a good offensive team, but the Raptors are fucking.
I
Whew.
mean, Harden is playing. If you have Harden, you're gonna have some offense. Let's just say that,
Yeah,
and gonna be Donovan Mitchell as well. Like these two can score. Like they can make plays to score for themselves at least. If no one else is hitting their shots, at least these two have the self creation too. And this is the thing that makes the playoffs different. This is where it separates teams that just rely on volume and like enough coin toss outcomes, and teams that have self creation. players that have self creation excel more in the playoffs. We've known that since the beginning of time. But people were saying that it's not true in the playoffs today, just because in the first like one or two playoffs of this decade, they were letting them play in the playoffs the way they played in the regular season. But I think since 2023 or 2024, it's been back to the original formula, and now teams need uh, ISO scoring and they need outside shooting more than just, oh yeah, volume will make up for the lack of skill. And I've been saying that for like in the late 2010s and early 2020s. I actually stopped watching basketball for some time because of that. Teams were all playing the same way. They just like
Yeah,
attempt a
they're
lot of
definitely not
things.
anymore.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm talking about. Like now they're resorting back to creating teams, but they've forgotten that the volume is still high. You need shooters. You cannot just rely on the volume making up for the skill and saying, okay, like even if we don't have good shooters, if we attempt enough of them, they will be valuable. No, you need shooters. If you're going to shoot that many shots, you need shooters, and you're going to shoot that many shots. So I think like teams need to add shooters if they're serious about taking that many shots. And I do believe that the world in general has enough good shooters to cover. Um,
but the
I don't know if
problem
it's
is
I don't
like
know if
Reed
it's enough to
Shepard is a
cover
good
like the
shooter.
whole league though.
The problem is in this today's NBA, being a good shooter is not enough because you have seen it with like Duncan Robinson and Reed Shepard. They will fucking hunt you every
Yeah,
chance they get if you can't defend. And
I like that it's coming back.
unfortunately,
Yeah, yeah.
there's not enough good shooters and good defenders at the same time.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like the reason it defaulted back is that being a good shooter alone is not better than being good at everything else. Like when I was saying this like 2 or 3 years ago, that if you're good at everything except shooting, and someone else is only good at shooting, they were saying the one who's only good at shooting is more valuable. And now we're seeing players like Azar Thompson, not a star. Like of course, like if you're a star and you can't shoot, you're still gonna be valuable. But a player who's not a star and isn't a good shooter can still be an impact basketball player today.
And
Now you still need shooting to make to like for the team to be good. But we've seen like shooters turn into
but
better players.
I feel
I
like
mean, Luke Kennard is playing good basketball. He was just a shooter. Now he's not. So
I feel like the rule is you can probably have one not good like non-shooter. I don't think you can have more than one. You can't have two. Two is I feel like Detroit is showing us right now. Like you even no matter how much effort you play with on offense, like lack of spacing just kills offense. And I will just to get back to this series in the game 7, that is the interesting part of this. Because how they mitigate Osar's weaknesses on offense, them just ignoring him, giving him the ball in like the short roll in space around the middle of the lane, have been a thing they've gone to, and then people kind of have to respect him because he's so athletic. Something they've gone a little bit to is have him interact with Cade or Duncan Robinson, which I also think is a thing they have gone to. I would probably go to it more. And then just what he did, like he was amazing on defense in that stretch in game 6, but he was also crashing the glass on offense. And I feel like these are the three things they can kind of take in and use Osai as to mitigate his weaknesses. Because it's like putting a bad defender on Osai, if he's small, is almost impossible. It's a little bit like if anyone remember the 2021 series, where between the Hawks and the Bucks, where what the Hawks did was put Trey Young and PJ Tucker and just haven't got him in the corner, but the Bucks just ended up game planning and they were without Giannis for one of these game for the one game before Trey went out. Was just you just crash the glass because he can't hold you, like he's not big enough, and they got that effort. And I think that's a thing Osar has really been doing. He did that yesterday in the game 6, and then how they can use him to interact with Duncan Robinson and Cade, and just use his athleticism in ways that can be interesting. Because he's such a good defender, he has to be out there. Like
Yeah,
he
he's
had
very
maybe
impressive. Very
just
impressive.
in that like third quarter, he had like 5 mind blowing plays. That was just amazing.
Yeah, I want to say something. You said you can have one, and if it's two non-shooters, it's a problem. I disagree with that. I think it's only a problem if it's three. But um, unless you're talking about like teams that don't have a lot of self-creation, but I think you can survive with two bad shooters on the court, not two bad perimeter. Like if the two players are like Durin and
Wasab.
a bar, like yeah, you can do that as long as the other three can shoot. And
I just feel like we've seen like you really can't.
no, okay, let me give
The
you.
Pistons
Let,
can't. The
let, let,
Pistons
let, let's not the
really.
Pistons particularly still like building themselves. That's their first year, but let's go back a bit. Like the 2021 Bucks in the playoffs, they only had like three guys above league average shooting from three in the whole playoffs. I think it was Cunningham. Who else? I remember seeing this. It was only three guys who were shooting above league average from three. And the Warriors in 2022, they had the lineup of Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Kevon Looney all together in the court. That's three players who can shoot.
Yeah, but they employed Steph Curry does not count in these. Steph Curry invalidates all these rules. Is
I
my
mean,
comment.
yeah, but still, like you had two teams that had a lot of non-shooters, and they worked.
But
And they
the
won
Bucks
championships. They didn't
and
just work; they won championships. And the
I
Mavs
mean,
made it to the finals with a three non-shooters lineup.
who was the three
I
non
think
shooters?
three, like of course that hunted them on in the finals. Like that was terrible in
Who
the
who
finals. But
who were the Mavs lineup of three non shooters?
Derek Jones, BJ Washington, and Derek Lively. BJ Washington is below average. I remember like his percentage
They
was.
also made the finals because he was a shooter in like the most important series.
I mean, still like you can have as long as they are good enough. Like I'm not saying like not shoot at all. Like you cannot have three
You
players
can't
like
have
Ozar
three.
Thompson out there. But
You can't have three Osas. Is my point. You can't have two
no,
Osas.
no, no, no. You cannot have
That's what
three.
I am saying.
Like yeah, if by non-shooter you mean like a guy who will not take a single three, then yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
But
you can't have
like a
Osa
below
and
average shooter who can still shoot, like Andrew Wiggins, PJ Washington, you know,
yeah. I did
who
not
was
count
on
them in
the
my non. I don't think Andrew Wiggins is a non-shooter. I was thinking like Draymond. Now Draymond, like Osa and
Devon
Mid,
Looney?
the
Yeah.
whole Rockets team except for like Reed Shepard. Like
I mean, Jabari Smith
yeah,
shoots. He's not very good, but he shoots. I mean, he's Andrew Wiggins if we're like making that
Andrew Wiggins
comparison.
also do something with the ball.
Yeah. That's another. Yeah, I mean, if you can create, that takes a bit of. I mean, if you can
And
put the ball in
honestly,
this
like
guy's
if you
hands.
have Shea and Kevin Durant on your team, then yeah, okay, you probably can play three non-shooters or two non-shooters because those two are so good in isolation that it just doesn't matter. So like it's obviously not a steadfast rule. But I think one non-shooter is all like because you can involve him, but when it's two unless like one of them is a center that does something really destructive on offense. I know Shaq isn't in the league, but like just even not even like Dwight
No, you
Howard
don't
on
need Shaq.
offense.
Let's just talk about from the four non-center because the center is needed for rebounds, for screens, for like defense. But outside of the center, I think the other four, you need three of them at least to be shooters. Like you can have one of the three be an average shooter. The disagreement I think is on the fourth player, like the power forward, for example, or the small forward, depending on which player on the team. Because if the non-shooter is a point guard who has the ball and a center, and then you have three shooters, that formula works. We've seen it work.
And
If we have like
the Bucks that you
yeah,
brought up, they always had a shooting center with Giannis. That was always what they wanted. They always wanted Brook on the floor and they wanted either it was like Bobby Portis they were running at 5. Like it was they wanted a shooting 5.
Yeah, free Bobby Portis, bro. Back to the playoffs though.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, we have the Nuggets series over,
Who
and we didn't.
let's not get away. We need to who wins game 7 between the what's your prediction? Game 7 is obviously in Detroit. Who do you think wins?
I think the Magic wins, but I hope the Pistons win because I want to see these guys further. Not gonna lie.
I I I'm gonna pick Detroit, and the big reason for me is because France is not gonna play, and if he's gonna play, like he's not gonna be very good.
Yeah, but he's been not good, and they have been a bit
But I
better
think he's just been so important for them. Like he's been a
overall.
guy they could put on Cade. He's been able to switch on Duran or Isaiah Stewart and not just be abused. He's just given them one extra wing ball handler they can give the ball to, even if it's not been amazing. Like I just think he's done things that just shows up quietly more for them.
Maybe, yeah, but I hope the Pistons win because I want to see them further. I don't know how much potential the Magic have, but I think the Pistons have some potential. I want them to gain some experience in the series that they eventually lose. So they come back next year and fulfill their potential right away. Because if they lose now, I think they'll need another year. And I don't like, I think you get what I mean. Like, the Magic have already had their like breakout year. I think the Pistons need that so that both teams can come next year and be like serious. That's I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
yeah, like, the more teams that are like fulfilling their potential, the better. And I think with France out or at least not good, the Magic do not really have potential forward. So they have potential next year, whereas the Pistons still have potential this year to at least make mistakes and learn from them. Um, so yeah, that's what I hope at least. Uh, what about the other games? What do you have in mind for the other game?
Then the next game,
Yeah, the other game sevens, the two others.
I would say let's actually take the one they would match up with. That seems natural. So Toronto and Cleveland is the next series. Is went 7. RJ hit a crazy game winner that bounced off the rim like Tyrese Halliburton style, 10 feet up and just went in. Scotty Barnes was still amazing. That was nice to see. Really disruptive both on defense. He was great on offense, I think, in that game, but he might run out of steam late in the game. I am not blaming him because he's playing like a million minutes and playing full on out effort. His motor is absolutely amazing. Yeah, this Unethical Hoops might be renamed the Scotty Barnes show if he keeps going like this because he's absolutely fantastic. I love watching him play. Connor Barles is their second best player, I think. RJ's been pretty good as well. So I think, yeah, I just like what these.
Scotty Barnes is becoming the type of like the player prototype that you love most.
Yeah, he was already that, but like he's becoming more of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, like he's that player that you love. So
Might
like
have
the
to start
David
just
White,
calling
the
him.
Draymond Green.
I might have to
I
start
think
calling him like the best player in the league just to take that snatch that chain from Penn of being the ultimate Scotty
best
Barnes.
player in the league. Okay, I mean he is very valuable. I've
Yeah,
always
I'm not
believed in.
I don't think he is, but like
I actually remember earlier in the year, I think I said that even though I think Penn took it too far a bit back then, I still said I think he's closer to where Penn has him than where the others have him.
oh yeah.
And he's
Remember
been
when he
that
was in Sabonis
he's
talks?
exceeded even my expectations. So yeah, like,
Yeah. Remember when he
and
was
this
in
is the same
Sabonis
show that
talks?
used to push Jalen Green agendas, man. Like, come on now. It's definitely the British accent. I'll say this. People are just biased towards the British accent. People were ready to take Jalen Green more seriously than Scotty Barnes. That's a biased show. I mean the chat and stuff. Um, But
Yeah.
yeah,
Donovan Mitchell has been awful this series. Absolutely horrendous. Jared Allen started off really good, and we talked about that, but he's fallen off quite a bit. Evan Mobley, I think, have been good offensively, just not defensively. He cannot handle Scotty at all. Like, Scotty is way too strong. Like, the only defender they have for Scotty is Dean Wade. That's the only guy that can kind of defend his body type. But no one else has a shot. James Harden's actually been okay. Even though he went like 5 for 14 yesterday, I didn't think he was that bad when I watched it. It was just he was still playmaking. He was still doing. He wasn't like terrible and defensively, where he was just giving it all back. So I think
actually, I've always believed Harden is a good defender when he tries. I don't think he was ever a bad defender when he tried, like ability wise. He was just a lazy defender. I always separate lazy defenders from bad defenders. He was always to me a lazy defender, not a bad defender. So when he's trying, he does well. Sometimes he actually does very good, not just good. But like his most common, like when he's trying, is good, not very good always, but at least good. And I think so. So who do you have like?
I'm afraid also because Brandon Ingram is not playing. That's a little bit of an issue.
Yeah,
he's
like
he has like the heel issue. So I want the Raptors to win. That's my first thing. And you know what? Because they were better in Game 5, and the Cavs got lucky that both Scotty and Ingram went out. So I'm going to say the Raptors. Because I think they have by far the best player in the series, and he's been playing like that. And I think they have the physical advantage. Like what we talked about a lot with the Denver versus Wolves, where the Wolves just were better athletes. I think the Raptors should have more athleticism in a sense and effort and hustle than the Cavs do. And now they might get blown out by 30. They could easily be that. But you know what? If they have gas, I'm gonna pick the Raptors. So that's my pick.
I don't want to say that I trust James Harden in a Game 7 again.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Game 7, Harden is not.
The crazy thing is he's like 37 years old and we're still worried about him more than his like young teammates. That's crazy. But I mean, Donovan Mitchell has been clutch his whole career basically. So I don't know.
Get the odds out here. So the Raptors are heavy underdogs. So the Raptors are what's called +8. So their line is around. They expect the Cavs to win by 8, basically. Detroit is plus. Orlando is +8.5, so they expect Detroit by win by 8.5. It's so about the same. And then Boston, before I forget it, is -7.5. So they expect Boston to win by 7.5. So they're all around the same, like 3-1 ish favorites.
Speaking of Boston, do you want the Celtics to win or like?
No, I am so rooting for the 76ers when you don't even.
Yeah, I think everyone is rooting for the Sixers. Everyone that I know, at least who isn't a Celtics fan, is rooting for the Sixers.
I mean, it would be hilarious that, like, 4 days after the whole Jokic has more willpower to win championships than Embiid. Embiid came back from a 3-1 deficit. He wasn't even a part of creating because his appendix bursted. And Jokic didn't against a team that missed like the best player in their whole backcourt. So
that's wild. I do hope, like I see Embiid having his run. It's very difficult for him to maintain that.
Win they could win the championship if they face the Spurs or the Thunder and knock on wood, someone goes out. Shea Wemby goes out. If Wemby goes out, the 76ers can beat the Spurs. Shit, if Wemby's there, they can. Okay,
let's not jump the gun and talk about the finals now. But I mean, like,
I mean, I feel like we're all hoping Embiid wins a championship. That would be
Yeah,
so
he's even like
scary.
the fact that with this injury, he's still probably the best player in the East is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, at least an appendix bursting is probably not going to affect your performance that much. It's just the off time. This is a pretty clean surgery. For what I know, it's a pretty clean. Just it's not your knee is not going to bother you for a time. It's just like it's an organ, but it hurts like hell, and you can't do that much for a long time because the wound have to heal. So I'm also just amazed at his effort. We can talk about that series if we want to talk more Cleveland Raptors. We can come back, but his effort has been amazing. Like he's played really fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have like Kata is a walking foul. Vucevic is as bad as I thought he would be. I gotta wait to victory lap that a little more because I called it to people on PC that he would not be any factor in any playoff series because he can't fucking defend.
That's what I was saying about the center. I'd rather have a center that cannot shoot and can defend than a center that can shoot and cannot defend any day, regardless of roster construction, bro. Unless I have like
The
uh,
Pistons,
uh
unless you're the Pistons would probably
no,
like you.
I don't want, bro. I don't like centers that can defend. I think it's impossible to make up
Yeah,
for
I
centers.
agree. I don't unless you are a Nikola Jokic level offensive player. I
And
don't.
even with Jokic, you need four guys who are very good defenders, which is very. It's more difficult to get four competent defenders than to get four competent shooters
Yeah, I
or
I
like
agree.
at least defensive
But
players. Like
like none of
Jokic
these
had
guys have
one of the best
no,
defenders and two of the best defenders in the league at the same time in his
none,
championship run. Aaron Gordon and
none
KCP.
none of the Celtics centers have any prayer of guarding Embiid or any action if it's Vucevic
Yeah,
for that.
putting Vucevic on him would be funny.
But even if they put him on him, like Embiid could not try to score. That's not even the issue. It's more that okay, they will just use Embiid to screen, and then Vucevic will just get fried. It's not even Embiid going against him one-on-one because they'll just go to the Maxi Embiid pick and roll, dribble handoff. I think he's been really good in the dribble handoff actions. I think he's been really good as a passer. That behind the back pass was really awesome. I think he's been doing like some really good things, interacting off the double team in Game 6 was nice. I love that. I like his effort. I just like I just noticed it. It was when they went to Drummond at center, and they just went all out effort. Like all four of the perimeter players was pressing so close to their guy. And it was really awesome to see because they do have really good athletes like VJ, Maxi's real quick. Paul George has been amazing on defense. He has also been good on offense, but he's been amazing on defense defending. So yeah, I would really like the 76ers to win. Now, I do think I absolutely do think what's it called? The Celtics can win, and I don't know if I expect them to. I'm actually gonna go in and put a little money on this right now as we speak.
I will say this: Paul George has been too good that I feel like he's reserving his worst performance for Game 7.
Yeah, that's true.
Paul George has never been this good in a playoff series, bro. I don't know. I don't remember him. Like,
It's a pretty good Indiana series, to be fair.
I mean, yeah, he's had like 2 or 3 good series in his life, but I mean, even in Indiana, I remember him having in like a series deciding game, he had 4 points in 44 minutes. But let's not talk like this is not a slander for Paul George now. Let's not turn this into the Paul George show. Yeah, like I don't trust Paul George. Like I distrust him even more than Harden, which says a lot. And like I'd rather have Harden in a Game 7 than Paul George, but I hope Embiid pulls through. And it's difficult because the Celtics can get hot, and when they're hot, nothing else on the court matters. Like literally nothing else. You can beat them on every single statistic, but if the Celtics are hot, they win the game.
Yeah. I feel like they've been
that's the
defending
annoying part. That's the
very
annoying
good.
part.
I feel like Philly's defense has been very good. I do think none of our guys, because we have been a big. You've been teasing me a lot about me calling Derek White better than Jalen Brown. I will say, if Derek White could shoot threes, we had last year's Derek White. I might be right now because Jalen Brown has really struggled in this series, but so has Derek White. So I'm not trying to. I'm not even trying to victim that. That was not my point in this. My point in this is more that I noticed a very interesting thing with Jalen Brown. He was good in like the first couple of games, but what has really hurt him is he is one of the most reliant player in what's called the off arm. So what the off arm is, and there's a clip of Steve Kerr, and I'll put that in the comment section below this when we're done. But what usually happens in what can happen in basketball is you dribble with your arm and you put your shoulder and then you shove the guy off you to create space. What you're not allowed to do in the rule right now is extend your arm. You can do it like Shea does this a lot, where he just chicken wings the guy. But as soon as you extend your elbow, that is inferior in offensive foul. What's the problem is in the regular season, they have just not been calling that at all. In the playoffs, however, they have called that on both Shea and James Harden. What usually is the counter to some of this is that you put your arm on the guy as the defender, you put your arm out on the guy you're defending so he just can't like shove you away. But what if someone has his arm out there? What do you usually do when you're in offense? Right through that arm, rip through, you get a shooting foul, go to the line. So because they had to take that away, now people have to play with their chest. So that people can just barrel into the chest with the shoulder, extend that arm to create space. There's nothing the defender can really do about it. But now they've started to call it. And even though they aren't calling it every time, just calling it like 2 times in a game puts Jalen Brown in foul trouble because it counts as a foul. It's an offensive foul.
Yeah.
And he is very, very reliant on that. Like Shea, when they called it against him, could just go to other dribble moves, create space in other ways. Jalen Brown can't. He is very, very reliant on his physicality and pushing off with that arm. So I do think that has been a big, big factor in this series. The referees deciding to call this off-arm push.
That's a good analysis of it. I didn't notice it, to be honest, but you're right. That's details like that are always impactful, and I feel like this is definitely a game changer. Like that's why I keep saying that rules, like the little tiny details in the rules, always matter, and this is an example of that. So, shout out for bringing that up. So I last thing I want to say here is, I mean, about this series is if they advance, whoever advances from these two, I think could come out of the East more than any other team. Yes, you've said 7 teams can come out, but I think these two would still be the front runners. Especially if, and that's a big if, Paul George continues playing well. I mean, I don't expect him to continue shooting 50 plus from 3, but at least to not like shoot 0 from 3. So yeah, if they advance, I think they have a good chance, and the Celtics too. If they advance, I think they have a good chance, like over the other teams at least. Now, we've talked about these game 7s. By the way, is there any news on Luke?
I heard game 3 is the optimistic view. But how about you just talk about the Rockets Lakers series, and I'll find it.
Yeah. I don't know why people were shitting on that one bad performance from LeBron.
Because it's LeBron James and everyone hates him.
Yeah, but it's like he's good in like 5 of the 6 games. Most players aren't good in every game. I mean, even Shea had a stinker in game 1, but he's been good since. I don't know, like, I know it's LeBron, but he didn't have the expectation going into the series that he'll be a superstar every single game. He's exceeding expectations. and he got past the team he was not supposed to get past. He did what he did more than he was asked to do, and people still had like found a way to be negative about the one bad game he had. Um, I I'm honestly not surprised because I don't ever like I've never been surprised by a good LeBron performance. Like he's been good for longer than most people have lived, I guess, in the community. So uh like I don't ever see him as a declining player, if that makes sense. Like every time I see him have a bad game, I feel like there is a reason that isn't ability based. Like either it's fatigue or he's coasting on purpose or I mean like to have a rest, like to not give his all to rest for an unimportant game. Like we've seen him do that. So I never really felt like LeBron could give his all and have a bad game. I've rarely seen this happen. Even the bad game he had is like he's up 3-1. I mean 3-0 like this period.
Yeah.
So like
So
he can have a bad game after being up 3-0. That's what I'm saying. That's a good way. That's a good time to coast, especially
so
with the best player out injured. You probably don't want to sweep the series so that he's back. Like I'm not saying he lost the game on purpose. Let's keep that in mind. But like, give him a break is what I'm saying. He needed the break.
yeah, so just with Luca, it says that the earliest, most optimistic would be game three or game four, but he hasn't even started. Like he's played a little bit of one-on-one right now, and they say he's still far away
That's
to
rough.
return. I think game three and game four would be like a week, a week and a half from now, probably 10 days. So I could see it. But the reality of the situation is they are probably not going beyond the game four.
Mhm.
I think OKC is going to absolutely smoke these guys. Like if the like these are one of those. If the Lakers win one game, they've won the series in my mind because they are severely outmatched.
I know they're severely outmatched, but again, I don't want to count out LeBron,
Yeah,
bro.
there is that thing in the back of my mind that could be like, oh, JJ Redick and LeBron James found something and they won two games and it's 2-2 by game four and Luca comes back and like shit, we got a series all of a sudden. Like
And
that's
Austin Reeves
100% in my
can
mind.
just pull a crazy performance. We've seen him have like crazy performances sometimes that the game is very winnable. And also Luke Kennard. I don't know why every time a white guy gets injured in that team, another white guy becomes a superstar. But like Luke Kennard and Reeves could pull like these crazy performances, and I still think the OKC Thunder have that one weakness in which they're heavily reliant on Shea offensively. He rarely has bad games, but when he has bad games, the game is winnable from the opposite team.
Yeah,
Um,
I I
so
just think I just think they're gonna be in transition so much that doubling Shea is not really gonna matter
yeah,
because
yeah. The Lakers are not a good transition.
but okay, the most important thing was also for me that he didn't blow a free over lead because I would have never heard the end of it if that happened. It would have been so
Yeah,
like it would have been so annoying.
yes.
Because
It
like
wouldn't matter how good you are.
the man's 41 years old in year 23. And I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to care that he blows a 3-0 lead now. Sure. Okay, I get it.
Yes. I don't know who it was, but someone made a video about like I think it was Cogsgrove or whatever his name is. Cosgrove. He said LeBron is older than MySpace, an app that none of us probably used. Uh, it was like the first mainstream social media app. So, and people are still like rooting against him. It's crazy. Uh, yeah. So yeah, I think we're glad he made it past the first round, and let's hope they can win two games somehow. I mean, of course, like if we're going to go into an in-depth analysis, they lose everywhere, offense, defense, everywhere. But let's hope something happens and they win 2 games. In the modern NBA, anything can happen at any given night. And we're talking about a team with 2 all-star level offensive players, so they're not severely outmatched. They're outmatched in every metric, but severely is crazy for a team that has 2 all-stars. Let's just say that. So,
Yeah,
like, if you have 2 all-stars, you can technically.
severely is the correct word. I would say. Maybe I get surprised. Like, I mean, I just feel like everything that happens after you start playing with your own son, that doesn't count. It doesn't count negatively. Like your own son is on the floor with you. Like, what am I supposed to say with this? Like, and your own son is like a complete meme, and he's actually playing minutes, like competitive minutes in the series. Not that many, but that also says something about how this Lakers team is just not that good.
Well, I mean, I would say the only ones that have the right to complain or criticize LeBron are Lakers fans because he's still technically on a max contract. So I get that, but if you're not a Lakers fan who's like mad about the salary cap, I don't
Shit, he
think
should just
anyone
not
should
sign
be
him for
talking
the
about
next
LeBron at this point.
That's not his problem. Just don't sign him.
Yeah, I get you, but I'm saying like they're usually someone
I
who is
get what
mad
you
at
mean.
LeBron
I
would be mad at the management as well. Most Lakers fans are mad at the management anyway, so
That's
it's
true.
it's association. And
So
I stopped being a Lakers fan because of the management. Like
I do
they've
think
been so atrocious.
I do think the one series, because we talked about Denver versus Timberwolves enough. Everyone's
Yeah,
talked about
the last
that.
two
I think the
episodes
one
were
series we
just
haven't really
awesome.
talked about, and we could talk about the Game Six annihilation of the New York Knicks against the Atlanta Hawks. And I just want to I just want to talk about one thing. I do think this is what maybe makes the take the Knicks from I don't think they can win a championship to like dark horse championship contenders in my mind is that
They've been
Carl
my
Anthony
dark horse
Towns.
for 4 years now. Is it time to move on?
Yeah, but like I mean, if a dark horse wins every once every 4 years, they're not dark horse.
No, no, no. I'm not talking about them not being a dark horse. I'm saying for me personally, they've been my dark horse
Yeah,
because
but like
I
I was
like
saying,
I like their build. I've said I love their
saying
management
what I said,
decision.
what I meant was I before I didn't think there was any chance they could win a championship or make the finals. Really, maybe there was a chance they could make the finals. Now I think there is a small chance. And the reason for this is that Carl Anthony Towns has started playing really good defense.
Hmm.
If you watch the Hawks series, I feel like he had many very good moments, especially rim protecting in Game Six. And this was a man that like a year ago, in the start of the season, people were 27 for 30 against him in the rim. They were shooting 90% at the rim when he was contesting.
Oh
So
my
I
god.
just feel like him playing more to his potential defensively have just been a really important thing for the Knicks. And I do think that is what before it was like they had a bad center and they had Bronson. But now they maybe only have Bronson who's a bad defender. And he's even like strong. He's not like a guy you're just gonna run over. He's not like Trey Young, like just a flower. He can actually give some resistance in
Yeah,
those sense. So
yeah. I
that
think
was just a guy I wanted to give a little props to, and they obviously blew like they were ahead 22-72 or something crazy like that.
yeah, that's crazy. I like Cat's potential. He's already too old for the word potential to be a thing for him, but I've always believed in his potential to be at least like an X factor in a team. His shooting and his defense, I mean, not his defense, his shooting and his face up game can create a lot of matchup problems in the league. But it was always the other side, like the physicality and the defense. The defense was good in that one series against the Nuggets a few years ago, like 2 years ago, I think. The crazy series they had. And ever since then, I've been waiting for that version to come back. And I didn't watch this series, but based on your description, maybe it's back. I don't know. I hope it's back though. That version, like I've seen him play good defense against the Nuggets. I want to see that again. So yeah, he when he plays defense, he's good, but usually he doesn't. He's just a cone for a lot of games. Yeah. So I do believe in the Knicks though as a team potentially, not the way they play, but the way they are built. Except for the fact that their star is 6 foot, but like their build is very good. They have a lot of difference makers, like the best guard, rebounding guard in the league, the best rebounder in the league, uh, the best shooting big in the league, best ISO scoring big in the league outside of Embiid. I I don't know. Two of the best wing defenders in the league, in OG and Michael Bridges. They have so many, but I mean, they have shooting, of course. I don't know, like they don't have weaknesses except the fact that their two stars are very flawed when they're both on the court. So that's a very weird problem that like I don't think I've ever seen a team that has this particular issue. That your only issue is your stars, not your role players. They have the best
I mean,
core
they have
outside of
other
the Thunder.
issues in the fact that their main big off the bench can't shoot free throws, and Mikal Bridges was terrible for half the series. Josh Hart is sometimes an up and down defender. I think like there are issues with the other players.
Yeah, like minimal issues that you'll find anyway. I mean, you could say that about OKC with Lou Dort, but I'm saying like these issues are common. But as a core of role players, they're in my opinion the second best behind
I
the
mean,
Thunder.
obviously, if their point guard and center was HGA and Chet, then these problems wouldn't matter, and they would just be probably the title, the East favorite at least, like clearly. I think
Yeah, and
if
again, I
instead of
said the Thunder are the number one team in terms of core, like core of role players. I mean, outside of Chet and Shea. So yeah, like they are still second to the Thunder, but the fact that they're two stars existing on the court together makes the team terrible defensively is always going to be an issue. That's why they're a very weird team to me. But I still believe in them. I hope they prove me right about their management at least. I think their management deserves a championship, but I don't know if they will. But I think their management deserves for the way they built this team. Uh, what else? Do you have anything else to?
I don't have anything more playoff related. I do think there is an important news we would need to discuss, and that is the new draft the lottery
Oh,
suggestion.
yeah. You can talk about them first because I didn't really read all of it. So go
So
ahead.
let me actually pull it up so I don't say anything wrong. But the core of it is that the lottery odds become nearly flat for the worst 10 teams, with the exception of actually let me pull it up. So I can both spell in English and talk apparently because I not that way. So what it is that the teams from 3 to 10 have the same number of lottery balls, which is like three each. Then the three worst teams, so 1, 2, and 3, they only have two lottery balls for the number one pick. For the rest of the picks, as of how I understand it, they have this three lottery balls. And then the play-in teams, it's this kind of like 10 and 9, each has two lottery balls, so that's about a 6% chance ish. And then the winner of the 7-8 game have two lottery balls, and then the 8 seed have one lottery ball. So I first of all, I really like that they're now making a relegation zone in a sense where the three worst teams have less odds at the number one pick. There's an actual reason to try to be the fourth worst team and not the third worst team. And I do really like that because I think one of the big issues with tanking is that very often it tanking and not trying to win are often the same. Like you set your stars, you if you have a player that's hurt, you get him surgery even if you could prolong it. Like there are some of you play the young guys, let them develop. I think there's a lot of the same mechanisms going on, but the tanking is just okay. Even if you have a good young guy, you start sitting him because he's winning you too many games. And I think that was a lot of the issues we had late in this, like from January on, where there's just a third of the games were completely, at least a third of the game, maybe even half the games was completely unwatchable because you knew who was going to win. There was nothing fun to watch because you knew one team was going to play 8 players you're never going to hear of again. And also another important thing of the new the anti-tank proposal is that every pick from 1 to 12-ish, maybe it's 10, they haven't quite figured it out, is going to be drawn. So it's not just the top 4, it's every pick gets drawn from the lottery. So there's no real flaw in being the worst team. You can fall to like 13th or 11th, depending on how they do it. Then they also changed the pick protections, so you can't protect the pick more or less from in that range from 11 to 13. So it's pure probability whether you can't like game like how the Jazz and the Wizards tried to game the system by not having their picks fall inside the protected range. So I really like the proposal. I really like how they're giving an incentive for the worst teams to play to win. I like that it's even in a sense because one of the big problems with the current rules is that it's hard. Like one of the problems right now is hard to tell who's bad and who's not bad because the Jazz are not a bad team and the Wizards are not a bad team if they play their players. The Wizards had the worst record in the league, but they played Anthony Davis and Trae Young and Alex Sa and so on. The whole last time of the season, they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Kings are probably the worst team in the league, but because they're not actively just trying to lose every game, they don't fall like that. So I do really like it. A lot of people criticize it for not giving the worst teams the best odds at the number one pick. Do you have any thoughts on the things I put out there?
Yeah, I think I disagree. I said I disagree last time. And yeah, like the way you explained it is the way I read it, so there's nothing I misunderstood. Um I believe if everyone is trying to win, then it will default back to the worst teams being the worst records. And if they're being punished for being the worst, then they will never be good. And that's not just a side effect of it. The whole reason for the draft is that. So this is basically a Cobra effect. You introduce the draft to help bad teams, then teams try to cheat the system by tanking. So you end up punishing the bad teams with the draft, so you defeat the purpose of the draft to begin with. And that to me is not just that's not a side effect, that's not a symptom. That is the issue. That's like at the core of the issue. So
But how are you punishing bad teams though? Like I get that they don't have the high chance at the number one pick, but like all you have to do to not be a bad team is be the fourth worst team in the league. Like if you get the second pick and you pick a decent guy, then next year you should probably be at least fourth worst. Like it's not like it's keeping people in this cycle where it's just impossible for them for the 3 worst teams to ever be better than that. Like it should be very, very easy to sign 3 agents, trade, hire good coaches, hire good scouts to just be the 4th worst teams.
I don't think it's that. If again, the problem with your assertion is that this is assuming other teams are going to be bad. Again, every team is trying to win. If every team is trying to win, the result is the worst teams are the bad teams, the teams that need that pick most. That's every year. Every year, the worst teams will be the actual worst teams. So I'd actually like I've said it before that the way I'd solve it is to only give an incentive for the top pick. So that would limit the number of teams that could even theoretically tank, but you will still have tanking between those bad teams. And I think you added the floor thing. Like if you lose, if you win less than 15 games, then you lose that privilege. We've talked about it in the tanking episode, and that was what we came up with in the end. Like I think two teams, like the two worst teams, will have the odds to win the first pick. Only these two teams, but of course the worst team will have higher odds than the second worst team. But if you're not one of the two worst teams, you'll not have any chance to get one of the two picks. Only the worst two teams will get the worst two picks. So that would mean that only maybe the third or fourth worst teams could be in that race. But other than that, you'll have like 26 teams with no incentive to tank because the other picks are flattened. Because that's what we came up with. Now you're trying to eliminate tanking entirely, and I think that will make the result is every team is trying to win, so the worst teams are the legit worst teams, and thus the teams that actually need it most. Now, if I'm the NBA and my goal is to end tanking, I know this would sound terrible, and that's actually against my like belief system, if we can say that, but I would do what they like. If I'm doing what they did, I would rig the draft in favor of the worst team after I do all of this.
Yeah, I think that creates a whole bunch of legal issues. Like, I
I
think that
don't
I
think-
might actually subject Adam Silver to jail time if he rigs the draft.
No, like
Like,
you made sure every team wins as much as they can, and then you rig it for the worst team.
oh, you do this and then you rig it like unknowingly. I'm just afraid, like, yeah, if no one catches on, so you do this system, but then you're like, yeah, the Kings, you get the first pick. I guess you could. I guess again, I think that opens up.
Or you know what? You know what could be very interesting? They do this, and after the season, like only for one season, after the season is over, they're like, you know what? We fooled you all. This is just no lottery this year. It's an order of the record. And every year it's like that. It's a wild card. So
So
one
no one
year
lose like this.
that would be crazy though. Like I'm not supporting that, but like I'm just saying. Like imagine if they do this. Like they're on paper, the worst teams have lower odds, but they still have odds, and so they rig it for like one of these worst teams, and that way you could actually end up like at least not suffering the problem of that system. But I still believe that a system that does not defeat the purpose of the draft, will always have tanking. As long as you have the draft for the purpose of it, you will always have tanking. That's my opinion.
So
So
I think the issue you brought up in that it just makes it that it punishes the bad teams. I just in a sense I think you're right, but I also like that's what it does. Like I like if the Kings have let's say I'm going to use the Kings and the Wizards here. The Kings have bad management. So they hire bad coaches. So they could just keep getting curve stomped. They're just the worst team every year. Kings and Wizards. Because they're not getting the stimulus package from the NBA. They're actually getting punished for being bad. So that creates competition where it's like, okay, we can't keep like what I would also maybe look at is if maybe some people shouldn't be owning NBA teams if they keep hiring bad coaches. But that's a different case. So what happens is right now the Kings just get late. It's just the three worst teams every year because they hire terrible coaches. They can't scout. So when they draft on the same level as every other team, they don't get better players because all the other teams are hiring good coaches and good scouts and so on. So I in a sense like that because it's not in the like in the Premier League where it's the money that makes the difference. Like it's not because one team is Manchester City and has billions from the United Emirates, and one team is who's bad this year? I don't know, Brighton, who comes from a city with 200,000 and they don't have the backing of a whole oil country. So it's such an inherent thing as are you run by good people? Do you have competent management? It's not, oh, you're just doomed to be bad forever. It's shit, maybe the Lakers will be bad because their owners aren't good at hiring people. That might be the case. But there will not be this inherent advantage to just being the worst team where you just get rewarded for all your incompetence. So I do like
Then why not just flatten the odds and only punish like one team? Like why three? Three is also an odd number to me.
because you
No
want to
matter.
also give 2 and 3 the incentive to that they should keep playing.
They
That's
will
like
never tank anyway. With flattened odds, no one is going to tank.
yeah,
Now
but
you're just
I think
making the worst
the
teams
proposal is not
try
about
to
having
win, and
tank.
they're not going to win.
The proposal isn't about stopping them from tanking. The proposal is about them playing to win. Like it's okay, 1, 2, and 3. You play to win. Like you have something out there. You can't shut it down. Like you play until game 82 is over because there is actually a goal for you, and the goal is to not be the bottom three. I also think it creates it's what's called a culture effect of policy, and it's something you sometimes see with the parental leave actually. So when they introduce mandatory parental leave, where the dad have to leave to take care of the child for 2 weeks, that creates a culture in the workplace where the other dads also do it, even if it wasn't mandatory for them. So because we're not right now are shaming the free worst team and putting him in the bracket, we are changing the culture. So both we're giving them an explicit incentive to play to win because you want better lottery odds, but we're
Mhm.
also giving them an incentive that they shouldn't be bottom three because it's a shame to be bottom three. It's really thick. It's an inherent line you're under. It's like being in relegation in soccer without actually moving down. But it's like you're under that yellow line that says you three suck.
Yeah,
So like I like the shame part of it because shame should be part of.
yeah. I mean, with what we've seen this year, yeah, I agree with the shaming part because this year was atrocious in that regard. I think yeah, like I agree with you on the sentiment, but I just feel like I'd rather have it. I mean, I like that they didn't eliminate the odds altogether. They're like going for just a little bit less, so they still can win the draft lottery. But yeah, uh,
The other proposal that's a little fun. Have you heard of it? It's called the wheel. It's
what
where every team, regardless of how good they are in a season, they are insured the number one pick, the number two pick, the number like it's like right now we just randomly generate so every team in the next 30 years has the number one pick once, the number two pick once, the number three pick once, and so on. That's
mm,
funny because it makes it completely equal, but also makes it completely unequal in that the one that get the first in the Wemby draft is just so much more advantage than all the other teams.
yeah,
I don't know if I like that because it means that OKC could have the number two pick in the next draft, which it could anyway. Funny enough,
yeah. I don't
but
like it because of the scouting aspect. I'm gonna like, uh,
yeah. The
like
other the other
I
thing
think the
about
scouts. I think the scouts don't get enough credit for making the league as good as it is today, as
I
talented as it is.
I
Uh,
forgot two things. You in the new tanking anti-tanking proposal, you can't have the number one pick 2 times in a row, and you can't be top five 3 times in a row. So Dylan
actually,
Harper wouldn't have been a Spurs. And
I like this part of it. I love it. I think that's long overdue.
I
Um,
I like it. I just wanted a little tweak. Is if you get the number one pick, if you want to, you can refuse it and be number two. And then the number two guy just get the number one pick. but he can still get it the next year, if that makes
No,
sense. So if
that's
you're in
crazy.
the Ricochet draft, you have the choice of, okay, I want Ricochet or Castle or whatever. I want the number one pick, so I want to pick it. But if I feel like this draft just sucks and the next draft have Wemby, I don't want to be like, okay, yeah. I do feel like that would be a more fair way to do it, where it's like, okay, you did have the number one pick, you have the one choice.
No, but
If it
that's
was
like a
Wemby,
declaration of tanking.
yeah, you're declaring that you would be tanking the next year, but like the other time, like
That's
even if you're
crazy.
not tanking, there is like some sort of, if the
Like,
2023 Spurs had got Ricochet instead of Wemby, I feel like everyone would know they were not making the playoffs. So I feel like it would have been very unfair for them to not be able to get the number one pick the next year.
but now you're back to why I have a problem with this whole system anyway. That the bad teams are going to stay bad as long as this system exists. So you're trying to make tweaks for things that are like symptoms of the issue I'm talking about. But the issue itself is there that the bad teams are going to stay bad unless they strike like they can somehow get a good like a great free agent or like the big
Draft
market
like
teams are gonna have.
OKC, they got shit number two, but like they drafted well. Like who else? Detroit drafted well.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
they drafted great.
The Spurs was maybe more luck because they hit Wimby,
Yeah.
but shit, like those two drafted well. Even the Magic, yeah, they got Paolo, but it's not like, okay, you could get a Paolo level player at like
I think the
four.
drafting well is always in the like you'll find it in the
Houston
second
did.
round. Second round draft picks are what define the scouting department in any team. Because the second round has had a lot of hidden gems in the last few years. It's been better than ever. And teams are still giving up second rounders easily. I think teams should just hire better scouts. They will find good players in the second round. So there is that part of it too. But yeah, like um I think it's just I don't like the punishment, but the shame part I agree with. But yeah, as long as they still have the odds that they have, it's not entirely terrible. It would have been worse if they just eliminated their odds altogether or like made
I
it
mean, they can still get
significantly
the
worse.
two pick. The two pick, they have the same odds as the four,
Mm.
5, and 6, and so on. It's just the number one pick they don't have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
And
is in my mind.
that was in a way that's similar to what I was saying because I've said that teams do not tank for the third pick. No one tanks for the third pick. It's always
Yeah,
either not one or in very specific cases, number two is good as well. This is the only year where there are three players since like '03 maybe. And even '03, there weren't three. Yeah, that '03 because Melo and Barco
2021,
uh,
2021 was like that.
with Melo.
No, no, no. The
No,
2021 was Mobley, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Green, Cade, and Jalen Suggs.
no, it wasn't really. Not all of them had that kind of
I
like
feel
the
like the
three
four
guys.
of them
This
had.
the
Four of
th-
them.
the three guys this year are considered. A lot of them consider all three of them like generational talents. Uh, but I don't know about that much because I'm not really following. But I don't think in 2021 like all four of them or five of them were generational talents.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
so
mean,
yeah, that's
I
different. But
mean,
still,
there
like
are.
I don't think people were tanking for these guys in 2021 though. Like that's not a draft to tank for like for the fourth best.
Houston was. OKC was tanking their ass off in that draft. Detroit was tanking like crazy. I don't remember if Cleveland had a tanker. They just sucked.
I don't remember much about the 2021 season, so maybe you're right. That was the year I watched the least amount of basketball. I actually remember a funny fact about that year. I remember in 2020, that's when I stopped watching, but not because of the threes. It was more about the COVID and bubble and mental health issues and stuff on my part. So I didn't watch a lot, but I watched the playoffs. So after the playoffs, I did not care to follow the following season, 2021 season, until my dad was like, uh, there is this, like, I was watching an NBA game, and there's this. I mean, my dad rarely watches basketball, but he was like, there's this European guy who's one of the best players I've ever seen. Like, and I was like, are you talking about Luca? He's like, no, not Luca. I know Luca. I was like, what? Who? I didn't know. I genuinely didn't know who he was talking about. And then I watched the game, and he's like, yeah, he's that guy. I was like, Jokic. And then I started following and realized that Jokic is actually having an MVP level year. And that's how I got back into basketball. Uh, but yeah,
Joke.
like for like half of the first, I mean, like for half of the 2021 season, I wasn't even watching. So yeah, that was. I mean, he had the eye test to notice that. That's crazy. But yeah. Anyway, uh, do you have anything else in mind, or should we wrap it up here?
I think
Okay.
we
So
should wrap it up.
what do we want to talk about next episode?
I feel like the playoffs is going to tell us what we're going to talk about. But
Yeah, that's yeah. I still think we should have had the all NBA teams, but we didn't. So
maybe when the All NBA team, maybe next episode, if the playoffs are not
we
too
can
crazy,
just react to
talk
them and
about
tell them they're wrong without coming up with our own. Yeah,
that's what we do.
the
We just
pity thing.
we just talk about some of the awards. I would like to talk about. I would like to talk about some of the awards. A lot of them will come out. So I'll.
Yeah, I mean, uh, listen, if people 10 years from now talk about the second place in DPOI this year the way they talk about Kawhi in 2016, bro,
Whoops,
this
Kawhi.
conversation is one of the most disgusting conversations that keep circulating. I mean, circling back, the idea that Kawhi finished second in 2016 and that somehow means something. I mean, he had as many first place votes as like Zaza Pachulia that year, and we're actually having a conversation about it. But anyway, uh, yeah. So
All right, I think we can call it.
yeah. So yeah. That was episode 11 of Unethical Hoops. See you when we see you. Let's see what happens in the game sevens, and yeah, it could be next weekend or maybe later this week. We'll see. And hope you all have a good one. And see you.
See ya.